Breathing is the foundation of basically shutting down your fight or flight mode, right? So when you are feeling panicked, basically in your mind and like your very animalistic part of your brain, you're basically feeling like you're seeing a tiger. It's a message to your body that something is not safe, right? And change as humans feels unsafe to us. And when change happens really fast or when things are uncertain and that change isn't even clear, we panic even more.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Eat for Endurance podcast. I'm recording on Wednesday, March 18th, which I am saying right now because things have just been changing so fast. So I'm going to try to get this episode out ASAP, but I guess you never know what's going to happen between when I record this intro and when I hit publish on this episode. Today's episode actually focuses not on nutrition so much, and certainly not on sports so much, but on mental health, which, as we know, is so incredibly connected to everything else in our life. And in trying times like these, and such a strange, crazy, scary time, such as this one with this global pandemic going on, it's just so important to focus on our mental well-being, especially when many of us, most of us, are quarantined or at least spending more time at home than we normally do. So I brought in for my guest today, Dr. Ashley Selkirk, who is a clinical psychologist based here in New York City, although a telehealth practitioner, much like myself. And we discuss in this episode, practical, tangible things that you can do to deal with some of these feelings that are coming up. I know for myself, I am normally a very anxiety-prone person, and with all the stuff going on, many things that we can see, but many unknowns. It's hard. It's hard to deal with the fear, the disappointment, the anxiety, all the things that are happening so quickly, affecting our health, our livelihood, etc. So I hope you enjoy this episode and find it helpful. Without further ado, Dr. Ashley Selkirk. So today I have Dr. Ashley Selkirk on the show. Welcome, and thank you for taking some time to chat with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
As, of course, everybody in the world knows right now, we are experiencing just an unprecedented situation that, obviously causes lots of anxiety, a global pandemic. And hence why I thought it'd be a great idea for you to come and chat with us all about handling anxiety and, being quarantined in your house. Many people are sheltering in right now, if not completely quarantining. And obviously this is a nutrition podcast and has to do with exercise, so we will be speaking to that a bit as well. But before we dive into all that, why don't you introduce yourself a bit, share some background?
Sure. So I'm a health and geropsychologist, and basically what that means is, I have a Ph.D. in counseling psychology, and then I specialized in my postdoctoral training in health and geropsychology. And geropsychology is the psychology of older adults. So there's, like a heavy health focus. I trained at the Veterans Hospital here in Manhattan for my specialty training. Then after a little while, I went on to work for them in primary care, dealing with all sorts of issues with, people, young veterans as young as, 18, 19 years old, who only served a little bit of time all the way up until the, end of life. And in primary care, I help people with all sorts of things, from anxiety, depression, to somebody having kind of their first psychotic break and not knowing what it is, or not their family not knowing what it is, to weight loss, smoking cessation, managing stress, parenting concerns. And in primary care, it's a little bit of a jack of all trades type of thing. You do it all. So I did that for a little bit. And then because I have two small children, I needed something that was a little more flexible. So now I have my own private practice, which I'm trying to make more health focused. And then I also work a couple days a week at long-term care and rehabilitation facilities for people who either, are in like a typical nursing home setting or have had extensive surgery and need pretty extensive physical therapy and occupational therapy. And so it's mostly older folks, but every now and again, you do get some younger people recovering in those centers as well. So that's kind of the lens that I'm coming from. Is I'm a clinical practitioner. I'm not an academic. I'm out in the community helping folks kind of manage their mental health.
Awesome. And we are neighbors, but we are practicing social distancing and recording remotely, of course. And this is day 3 of school closures. So I know we were just chatting about our little ones. How old are your kids?
So I have a 1.5-year-old and an almost 5-year-old.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's tough working from home. And of course that will be one of the things we talk about today. But, just in looking at your website, one of the things that really spoke to me, and it was kind of the main quote on your page, was when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And I think that really, sums it up. There's so much about our current situation that we cannot control, and it's frightening. It's even though there are tangibles and visible things that we see that are resulting from the virus, obviously, there are so many just things we can't see and things we can't quite grasp. And there's a lot of fear and all that kind of stuff. But so that's really what I want to focus on today, is what we can control, what we can change about ourselves, the actions that we can take to kind of help with that. And the other part that you said on your website, or, kind of what the work you do, is part of your work is helping you learn to find peace with your body in order to live your best life. So I think that's also very relevant.
Absolutely. But I'm actually really happy you pulled, that's a Viktor Frankl quote, actually. And he's a Holocaust survivor. He's not alive anymore. But his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is one of my favorite books. And if anybody has time, it's a really accessible read for everyone, not just clinicians. But the first half of the book is about his Holocaust experience. And the second part of his book is kind of about his psychological philosophy in terms of kind of managing existential crisis and how you view suffering. And how you can overcome suffering by kind of focusing on what brings you meaning. And so that's kind of how I practice typically, is, I focus on what brings you meaning, what brings you joy, what's consistent with your values. And I start from there. I don't typically focus on, I don't really start with the anxiety and depression. It's all right, well, let's make sure we're always moving in a valued direction in order to overcome that anxiety and depression. So I think that would be a great first step if people are really suffering and really struggling with anxiety, kind of getting out of the muck and the mire of kind of, being hooked by that, and thinking about kind of how can I lead myself towards a value, towards meaning, even as we are kind of stuck inside and limited in what we're able to do and not do. So
and I like that whole, awesome. Yeah. And kind of what you were saying is finding the joy. I think, I'm not alone. I love my girls so much, but it's pretty, I know a lot of parents are really maxed out, and even people who aren't parents, whether they're working from home or dealing with all these different things going on, it's a lot to handle. And I think if you can, just now, in Stuyvesant Town, they opened the lawn that they hadn't done in a while. It's this big lawn, and you're able to very much socially distance yourself from people. And while my younger one was sleeping, I was able to go out with my toddler, and we had a snack and we ran around and we skipped, and it just reminded me, she's usually in daycare and I barely see her, and I'm working more, and it's kind of even though many people are saying, it's a time to slow down, and I don't really feel like I'm slowing down. I feel like it's almost more more intense than usual with the kids. But at the same time, if I kind of just let go of this expectation that I must get a certain amount of things done, and just instead put my phone away and just kind of was a kid with her, and skipped and hopped, did all those things. It was that's a moment of joy. And I was just kind of looking at her, and she was so happy. And that's a real moment that I can just appreciate, that I don't think I was really appreciating enough before. So, I know I've been reading a lot of really joyful situations and things coming out of, positive things that are coming out of a bad situation. And so I think that's one thing that we can do, at least from my perspective, to kind of counter some of those, negatives 100%. That are going on. Yeah.
100%. And, I am of the philosophy that, people are predominantly good. And I think to access that goodness, sometimes we have to get out of our heads, get out of kind of the future orientation, out of kind of dwelling in the past, and really be in the present moment. And when you're able to be present with yourself and with your family and with your friends, you are able to enjoy yourself more and appreciate the smaller things. And I think the thing that is really tripping people up right now is, we're really worried about the future, as we should be.
Yeah.
But I think that's making some people's anxiety and feelings of loneliness so much more intense because we don't have an endpoint here. We're not sure when this is going to be over. And so, the best that we can do is find ourselves being present in the moment. And that actually helps mitigate a lot of that anxiety and depression by kind of focusing on the here and now. And if that's like just being really present with your kid, or if that's noticing your anxiety and saying, all right, I can't change that right now, but like I can ground myself to the present moment, like something super simple, like what are 5 things I can see? What are 4 things I can hear? 3 things I can touch, 2 things I can smell, 1 thing I can taste. Like that's my favorite grounding exercise when I'm feeling overwhelmed, to just kind of really get in touch with right now.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And I know, I'm sure I'm not alone, being present, and this is before the whole, virus thing, like is so hard. It's so hard for me because it's part work, part just feeling this. And especially now when we're not connected to people except for through these, social media interactions or phone calls or video chats or whatever it is, and then of course you're staying on top of the news. So I feel like it's so hard, especially now, to just put the phone away and be present. Yeah. I'm also like logging, breastfeeding and pumping and all that stuff, which probably I should just like stop because it's driving me nuts. But, I feel like it's like the phone is like your lifeline to everything right now. And we don't even have cable. So we're not even like watching the news. So I know for me, we're reading the news on our phones. So but I don't know if you have, so I really like the grounding exercise. I think that's a really good one. Do you have any other tips? Because finding a balance between using tech in a positive way, because especially for kids that are using tech for homeschooling purposes, or, for my toddler, even she misses her friends so much. Oh, yeah. And we video chatted. It's so hard. They're not used to being isolated. They want their friends. And, even for teenagers or older kids, we've been video chatting lots of kids. So it's like that balance of, okay, being plugged in and having those wonderful moments of connectivity with friends and family and whatnot, using it for educational purposes, or, when you need to use the TV or iPad or whatever for, just so you can get work done, for people who don't have childcare, but then also getting like sucked into that dark hole and then ignoring your child. It's just, I cannot find the balance personally. I really can't.
I think the first thing, like my number one rule for myself that I've had to remind myself of over and over and over again in the past 5 days specifically is, being kind to myself, that I can create all the schedules I want. I can create all the rules for myself that I think could be helpful. But like this one is the most important. It's just to be kind to myself, that things are going to stray from the schedule. You're going to use the kid's iPad more than you want. And, like you are doing the best that you can to make a bad situation feel okay for you and your family. And kind of everyone's balance is going to be different, and everyone's going to be posting things on social media, and finding some, I think, distance from like social comparison is really important. You see what other parents are doing and you think, oh my goodness, should I be doing all of this? Wow, they're so structured. Their kids seem so well behaved. And it's easy to get sucked into that negative cycle of social comparison. So I think that's the danger of plugging into social media, particularly right now, especially for parents or even regular adults. I've seen like, putting on work schedules, or how they're, incorporating exercise and nutrition, they're maintaining diets. Just being kind to yourself and knowing that what works for other people isn't going to work for you. But in terms of unplugging, I think what I've had to do and what I've been advising some of my patients to do is to set aside time specifically to binge the news. I would say Saturday, I was really at my peak of like obsessively checking different news websites. And I literally like got lost in it. And again, found myself ignoring my kids and, I'm like, oh my God, I missed snack time kind of thing. So I kind of made a decision that, I'm going to check it at the end of the night. I can spend like up to an hour doing that if I want, which I feel like is really too much time. I'm working on decreasing that, but an hour at the end of the night and like once in the morning to see if anything happened overnight. That might be too much for some people. That might be too little, but you have to find a balance for yourself and kind of, stick with what feels good to you. Again, like you make these soft rules, but don't beat yourself up if you spend more time or less time or whatever. But I think distancing from the constant news cycle when, there's so much going on so fast. I think there's a fine line between staying up to date and aware of, new precautions you're supposed to be taking, new things that are happening in your community as, new orders go into effect from the city or your state or whatever, versus, kind of indulging in it too much and driving yourself crazy with it. You just have to pay attention to where your mind is going. And if you feel like it's going to a dark place, kind of stop and notice. Don't beat yourself up that you're going there, but, just stop and notice, like, all right, maybe now it's time for a change.
And it's very overwhelming. Just like, it's also the speed at which things are changing, and it's like the overwhelming feelings. It's not just like the anxiety, the fear, the disappointment, like all those kinds of things, but it's also like everyone's posting, oh, check out this video to help with your kids and check out this resource. And it's like, even the positives, it's like, I can't process all of this information.
Right. It's information overload.
Yeah, it really is. Anyways, you're about to say something. Sorry.
Oh, I don't even remember. It's okay.
All good. So that all that stuff is going on, and it's even, or like, here in Sci-Town, we have this great community and the moms group and all that stuff. And it's like, what's the status of Trader Joe's today? Like, what are the lines like here and there? It's like I feel like I'm just constantly monitoring so many things. And I think the danger there is, at least for me, is not looking after myself. I'm working so hard to take care of everybody else and stay on top of all these other things. And again, I think part of survival, getting through these times right now is yes, like, you want to make sure you're comfortable and well fed and rested, as much as possible, but it's also like being easier on yourself, as you said, being kind to yourself. Like, my laundry is all over the place. Like, oh well, it's like normally I'd be folded and put away right now, but that's just not happening. My toddler keeps quote unquote folding things, which really just means she's unfolding them and throwing them everywhere. Yeah, like literally, I think I got through half the pile of folding, and then she said she was going to help me, and then just like unfolded everything. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you know what? There's just no point.
My kid is definitely not Marie Kondo's kid, like delicately folded clothes and the nice little triangles.
Yeah, no. But it's a nice sentiment that she's trying. And again, I think, focusing on the positive, that she's having fun doing, as we call homeschool, which isn't education. It's just spending time with us and, having a good time. And she's seeing her sister more, and, trying to make the best of it. So let's talk about making the best of it. There's a lot of disappointment going on. I mean, what I was saying before is just like all of the unknowns, which is, it is very scary. And there are a lot of tangible repercussions as well. Like, we are seeing the economy tanking, and we don't know what that's going to hold down the line, but we know it's not good. As we said, we're struggling to balance home and work life, school's canceled, loss of work for some people, of course, obviously people getting sick and dying, which is tragic. Are there any other, I want you to, first of all, repeat the grounding exercise of being present, because I feel like that's a really good one. But are there any other things that you, kind of recommend to your patients generally for, in moments where you feel panic? Because I know personally, I've had moments where I just felt so overwhelmed and so panicked, like breathing exercises or anything that. Anything else too?
Breathing is the foundation of basically shutting down your fight or flight mode, right? So when you are feeling panicked, basically in your mind and like your very animalistic part of your brain, you're basically feeling like you're seeing a tiger, right? When you feel that panic, when you feel anxiety, it's a message to your body that something is not safe, right? And change, as humans, feels unsafe to us. And when change happens really fast, or when things are uncertain and that change isn't even clear, we panic even more. And so the best thing we can do for our nervous systems, and then ultimately our general mental health, is to slow things down. And by doing diaphragmatic breathing, that's belly breathing, right? You're basically shutting off that fight or flight mode, and you're kicking your body back into like a relaxed gear, and you're allowing not just kind of your mind to calm down by focusing on breathing, but your whole body. And there are so many wonderful apps and websites you can go to that have meditation scripts, but not even going that far, just deep breathing scripts that will literally walk you through how to breathe properly. And some of them even have physical demonstrations of kind of how to move your belly. And this is going to be a new way of breathing for people. As adults, we do a really crap job of breathing properly. If you look at a baby, if you look at a tiny little baby and how they breathe, or even a cat or a dog, they're not breathing from their shoulders. They're not heaving like we are when we get anxious and upset. It's their bellies that are moving, not their shoulders. Their bellies go up and they go down, and up and down over and over and over again when they're sleeping. And that's kind of the image we want to replicate when we're belly breathing. So we kind of want to imagine like this wonderful big balloon in our stomachs. And as we inhale, that balloon is going to fill with air. We're inflating the balloon. And then as we exhale, that balloon in our belly is going to deflate again. And when you do that over and over again in your mind's eye, imagining that balloon until you feel calm. And the thing is your mind is going to stray. This is a new skill. This is a muscle that you're using, some of us, for the first time. And so your mind's going to stray, and that's okay. Just gently remind yourself to go back to the breathing, go back to the breath. And, and it also might make you a little lightheaded breathing correctly for the first time in years.
Yeah.
So, I really recommend doing this laying down. Like if you find yourself feeling really anxious, lay down, put your hand on your stomach, or even something light like a tissue box so you can see the movement up and down, and just lay there and focus on it, and let yourself just only be with your breath. And this is also really great for children. They can do this too. Give them a tissue box. Try to get them to move the tissue box just with their belly, or give them a little board book. And this can be like a whole family exercise. It calms everybody down. My son can't do it for very long, but he'll try.
I bet I can get my daughter to do that. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
But it reminds me actually of some of the. Yeah, totally. Actually, it reminds me of some of the postpartum pelvic floor exercises I was meant to be doing that
absolutely
of course neglected. But it was all about the breath and integrating that and so okay, awesome.
100%.
Okay, that's a really good one. And what was the grounding one again? You said 5.
Sure.
What was
the grounding exercise? And again, this is one of my favorite exercises. You're just thinking of your 5 senses, and so it's 5 things that you can see where you are in the moment. So right now I'm in my bedroom away from my husband and children. And I can see the gray on the walls. I can see the light coming from the window and making a shadow. I see the blue of my comforter. I see the gray of my cat, and I see kind of some shadows in my carpet from the different texture, I think that was 5. I wasn't counting. And then you do 4 things that you can hear, I can hear your voice. I can hear a little bit of static from my headphones. There's something going on outside my window that I can hear. And then my husband has a television on. I can faintly hear that. And then, 3 things that you can feel. So I'm not wearing my favorite pants today, so those are a little tight. I can feel that. I'm sitting with my kitty cat and I'm petting her. I can feel her. And, I also can feel I have nice slippers on, so I can feel kind of the coziness and the furriness of those on my toes. And then 2 things that you can smell. I can smell my hair product. And then I also kind of just smell the scent I have in my room, which is kind of like a sandalwood. And then 1 thing you can taste. I had potato chips because I'm eating really healthy. And I still kind of taste that in this moment.
Awesome.
But, and you can do this out loud. You can do this in your head. I just did that pretty quickly, but you can go as slow or as fast as you want. And it's just really grounding you to the moment.
Really like that. Okay. I'm absolutely going to do that. That's good. And I think it also helps with kind of, again, identifying those joyful things or moments or, things you're grateful for. And that's certainly something last night at dinner, and the night before at dinner, because we've been trying to do family meals more. And we always do family dinners, but one joyful thing for me, at least, that has come out of this. My husband's working full time here and is very busy, but we're able to all kind of take a moment to eat breakfast together, eat lunch together, eat dinner together. And at dinner, saying what we were grateful for and what was really nice about today. And again, even though there's so many unknowns, so many scary things, so many negatives, for most people, I think there are some positives coming, sometimes obviously it's harder for some people to find the positives, but there's something that you probably can find, somewhere. Yeah. Whether it's watching that video of Italians singing out their window or something like that, or, just something, there's something that people are kind of coming together and finding, or the community support or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the disappointment.
Sure.
This is, of course, a sports and nutrition podcast for the most part. So lots of really big races have been canceled. Of course, vacations are canceled, trips are canceled, just so many things. Everything's canceled. Weddings are canceled. I mean, just it's devastating. I know it's not death, but it's not to say, we can't, it doesn't mean it's not significant, right?
No, you don't get that time back.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, when you put things into perspective, that whole like, oh, I'll put something into perspective. It's like almost trying to diminish your own hurting or disappointment. But, you're still allowed to feel those feelings,
Absolutely.
Just because your local race was canceled doesn't mean you can't feel sad about that.
Yeah.
Even though it's not the end of the world, it's still really sad. And for some people, like Boston Marathon, for instance, they postponed it. But, I have clients who have been training for all kinds of really big races, and the cancellation of something they've been working so hard towards, and especially when things have been going well, that's devastating. Yeah. So how can people deal with disappointment? I think any thoughts there?
I would say, I think the first thing to do is, don't avoid those thoughts. I kind of like to think of negative feelings like boomerangs. Like the harder you throw them away, the stronger they're going to come back and smack you in the face. And again, this is kind of where like mindfulness can be important, like noticing your feelings, but not allowing them to have so much control and power over you. So you notice them, right? You're like, boy, it's a beautiful day. And normally I'd be doing like this for training or whatever. Like notice that feeling, be present with that disappointment and say, okay, well, I can't do this today because of social distancing or whatever. I can't go to my gym today. But then that's where kind of making new goals and like new commitments to yourself comes into play. So again, moving in a valued direction for yourself. All right. So I can't do those things. I'm feeling quite sad. I'm feeling a little bit blue. I'm noticing this about myself. What can I do for myself instead? Kind of displacing it almost. So recognizing it and then kind of creating something new from it. So, all right, I have all this energy that I would normally expel by running, 2 miles or whatever every morning. Well, I could maybe do yoga instead, or I could do a Beachbody video, or, I could do some like calisthenics or, whatever it is that you want to do. Or maybe you're just like, I'm bummed that my physical outlet is gone and you can channel that elsewhere. So maybe you can get creative. Maybe you can go, try something new in the kitchen. Maybe, if you are like artsy or crafty, maybe you could pick up that knitting project you haven't finished, or, pull out your paints that have been sitting in your closet since college. Trying to channel that energy in any way you can that would make you feel good, make you feel connected to something bigger than, something bigger than just in your mind and those feelings.
Yeah.
I think also we have to recognize that this change was quite sudden for most of us, and that we are still in that new period. Like it's almost like being in a new relationship with ourselves. We're having to do more introspection. We're alone more, even if we're inside with our families, kind of we're in our head. We're not interacting with the same people that we used to be. So this is a new thing that we're all slowly adjusting to. And so we have to create new routines for ourselves. And I think creating a schedule that works well for yourself is really important here. I am actually really crap at schedules. Like I don't do so well with them. So I say this with aspirational, kind of things in mind. But especially with little ones, it's kind of hard to keep a schedule sometimes. But if that will help kind of manage your anxiety and contain it a bit, try to create a new schedule for yourself. We all have schedules. We might not think of it as that, but we all do. So, like every morning I get up, I brush my teeth, I take a shower, I get dressed, and I sometimes eat breakfast with my kids as I'm rushing out the door. And then, I listen to a podcast on my way to work. I get to work and then I have my day. I'm, seeing all my patients. That's the schedule, right? And so now I'm at home. That schedule is really different. And so what can I do that's still meaningful? So today my schedule was, I woke up, play with my kids. I did try to do a circle time with them. I tried to do something physical. So we did a yoga video for kids. And then we went outside for a walk, got some sunshine. And that pretty soon we might not be able to do. We don't know, all these social distancing precautions. So our schedules could be ever changing. But loosely in my head, I have the ideal of all right, we'll do something educational, we'll do something active, and then we'll try to get fresh air. Then we'll have lunch and nap. And then in the afternoon, again, something educational, something physical, and then the kids go to bed, hopefully. And then I'm able to have some time for myself. And what that time looks like, I think it's really going to depend on the day. And this is where flexibility is important. So some days I think I'm going to need to exercise more than others. Other days I think I'm going to need to quiet my mind. And for me, like, I love reading. I love escape into fantasy. So I'll pick up a book. And that to me is like a nice hour-long escape before I'm ready to go to bed. But finding something that works for you, lets you quiet your mind.
Yeah.
And brings you joy. Like, I love reading, and I actually don't get to do it that much. And I'm looking at this as an opportunity to reconnect with something that I've not been able to connect with in quite some time.
I think it's
honoring your feelings, creating new schedules, accepting the change, and understanding that change is scary, and that, we're probably on board for some continuing change. Just trying not to fight it so much. I think it's when you fight it that you get in this really big struggle with yourself and your feelings. This is all easier said than done, but just keeping it in mind that, you can acknowledge your thoughts without allowing them to kind of take hold of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in terms of the scheduling, like, I'm definitely a list maker. I'm a planner. And, things are so in flux, and just also trying to have not like so much structure, but like just some loose structure with kids, I feel like is helpful. Especially when my baby she's not in a schedule, but like, she's up for a certain period of time, and I'm trying to just like work around all these things that need to happen for the baby and deal with the toddler. And so, I also start my day with the circle time with my daughter. And, I wanted to get outside at some point, which I hope will still continue. It seems based on the San Francisco model that the shelter in thing that you can do outdoor activities if at least you're staying a certain amount apart. But with the density in New York, I just don't know if that's realistic, but I guess we'll see where that all goes. But you can do exercise in the home. I have a Peloton, which I haven't really been on because I've just been trying to honor my body, and I've been feeling very run down from all the lack of sleep and stress and whatever. But in theory, eventually when I feel well enough, I'll do that. And everyone can, you can do videos, as you were saying. You could do strength training. If you're able to get outside for a run, wonderful. I think, Peloton is actually offering like 90-day free trials. So there's stuff like that out there. And like so many people are like, again, there is some good coming out of this. There are just so many cool videos and things out there that so many people are producing and offering for free or discounted or whatever, just knowing that everyone's in this position. So I think just, again, there's a lot of disappointment that you can't do what you want to do or run the race you ran or whatever. But, there will be other events, obviously. Yeah. And also it's not like, kind of using the race as an example, like it's not like all of that went to nothing. Right. You still made tremendous, like some of my clients I worked with, like made tremendous progress. We worked on the nutrition there. Like you learn things about yourself, like your body may have changed in some way that, feels good, feels strong. You gain fitness, so it's, again, it's not like it's all wasted, but it's definitely not wasted.
I think it's managing expectations. I do this a lot. I work with people with chronic pain, and a lot of people, especially when I was working with veterans, these were like pretty active young men that, sustained pretty horrible injuries, and now they have, chronic problems. And so say, for example, like this one guy was like a really avid hockey player and loved playing hockey so much. And he used to be part of like multiple leagues and, like every winter would play all the time, but then he couldn't play anymore. Like his doctors were like, nope, sorry, you can't do it. Like it is not safe for you anymore. And it was such a loss and such a disappointment for him. But what he was able to do was kind of channel that energy into like being a coach. So now he like coaches for like, it was like a youth league. And so he has to be careful of like the physicality part, but like the mentoring part, he's found so much joy in kind of sharing his passion with other people. It's been so rewarding. And similar things can happen now, right? So like say you can't do one thing, maybe that can be channeled into, all right, maybe you make a podcast about kind of your journey, like through like marathoning or, whatever. Or, say you're really passionate about something, maybe you can teach your kid about it. Or maybe you can start like reading up more on it, on the history of it or whatever, like there are lots of ways you can channel that energy and still feel connected to whatever that race or that big training event was, or that sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, it's about kind of just like slightly adjusting your expectations and your goals. Not that they'll never be able to get back to them, but like for the moment they're on pause. I think that's also a helpful concept. Is like, nothing is over. Everything is on pause. And I think that's been helpful for me to tell my almost 5-year-old too. He's been super upset the past couple of days that he's not gone to school. He loves his school. He loves his teachers. He loves his friends. And so explain to him that like, yes, school is on pause. Like, I'm trying not to use the word canceled. Like, school is on pause for right now. And, it's making sure everyone is healthy. It's the same thing for like these big events, right? They're on pause. They're on pause for a reason. And that doesn't mean it's gone forever. It's just a pause.
I like that concept a lot.
So just like simple reframing.
No, that's great. Let's wrap things up by talking about eating and food supply and all that stuff. So obviously, the anxiety, like the panic people of, all the panic buying, all that stuff, the hoarding, just the anxiety of not having a regular food supply or reliable delivery or stress eating. Like, what are your thoughts on all of that? I mean, you've already kind of given us some of the techniques we can apply to that, but any thoughts specifically surrounding food and eating that would be relevant to share?
I mean, so that is scary, and like, you don't want to invalidate anyone's feelings because again, all this is uncertain. We don't know if our food chain is going to be disrupted. We don't know, how often we'll be able to go shopping if new rules are put in place by the city. And those are things that are uncertain. Right now, what we can do is we make sure, especially in New York City, it's hard. We don't have a lot of space. It's kind of hard to hoard things.
Yeah, I know, right?
So it's like, where do you put them? So just kind of trying to like think about, like, again, planning, kind of think about what exactly do you need, kind of giving yourself like a week to 2 weeks supply of things I think is important, and also in terms of being altruistic, you don't want to have too much and then other people go without. But also, I think emphasizing not just getting like essentials, like don't just buy canned beans. Like that's not going to bring joy to yourself.
Yeah, I know, right?
Get to allow yourself some indulgences, like get that bag of, Oreos Chips. If you really want them, but, say like, all right, this bag is going to last me 2 weeks, kind of play those mental games with yourself. Or like, I am allowed like 1 cookie a day. But I feel like if you restrict yourself too much, that's also going to be really hard because we do need extra comfort in this time. And sometimes you can find that in food. Just make sure it doesn't become problematic. The other thing you can do to kind of help with that happening is you can practice mindful eating. Again, this is something you can find lots about on the internet. And you can do activities like one I really love to do is with either a raisin or a Hershey Kiss. And you kind of can pretend that you're, an alien from another planet. You've never seen this object before. And, so the first part of eating this object is you're going to look at it. You're going to really observe its shape, its color, its texture, how kind of light bounces off of it, its nooks and crannies, its crevices. And then, you kind of slowly eat it. Let it sit in your mouth before you start chewing, noticing what's happening in your body and your stomach, as you get more saliva, noticing yourself wanting to chew, and then allowing yourself to chew. Noticing the flavors, the texture again in your mouth, did the smell change versus the taste? Things like that to slow down your eating, to really enjoy something. And again, it doesn't have to be that. So this is kind of like a dramatic exercise, but then noticing like when you're ready to swallow, like, what does that feel like? How do you know you're supposed to do that? These are things we really take for granted that we don't pay attention to. It's just like walking and breathing, they come natural to us. They're reflexes almost. And so if you can slow down that process, it can really help you really appreciate something that you've often taken for granted. I try to do this with myself every once in a while as a reminder. And I'm like a fruitaholic. I should have been like a rabbit or a bat or something in another life. I don't know. But I do this a lot with fruit when I feel like I'm just like scarfing it down. I have to remind myself to slow down and really notice what I'm doing. Yeah. I think that helps you appreciate what you're doing. And again, this is activities you can do with your family and get everybody's experience and talk about it. What did you notice about that Hershey Kiss that you wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't have done this? Or that raisin. Like, had you ever thought of a raisin that way before, of having so much delicate flavor and so much different texture? These are good conversation starters too. These could even be things you do with friends over FaceTime. Do it with wine.
I was like, I don't think I'm going to be FaceTiming my friends being like, let's it'll be related to a grape, but in a different form. We will be doing virtual happy hours on my end for sure. But no, I
you
really
have to
like
get creative
that.
with these things.
Oh, I know. No, but I really like that. It's slowing down and being more thoughtful about how, your approach to food, which is what I always talk about with my clients anyways. So, fully on board with that. And yeah, in terms of all the food stuff, I think that going back to the kindness, being kind to yourself,
Yeah.
and, yes, listening to what your body wants. We're not going to sit there eating beans all day unless we truly have to. And there's, but there's a difference. Like right now we're in the early stages of things.
Yeah.
I think, there's long lines and some empty shelves. So for the most part, we have access to most things we want. I know in my house right now, I'm stocked up on pretty much everything I want, like including fresh produce, which for me, I just love so much. And that's kind of my fear, is I'm just going to lose access to fresh produce, which would just be for me. Like
I 100% agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's like from a health perspective, I mean, obviously it's important from a health perspective, but we'll survive. It's not a big deal. I have other things, but it'll just be sad, So I know for me, like we're definitely doing a little bit more meal planning just to kind of pace what we do have and minimize our need to go out shopping. Because sure, I could go out today and try to get more fruit because we're kind of running low, but do I really need to be doing that? No, I don't really need to be doing that. I truly have enough stuff to stay inside for a week and not, clutter the stores and make, have other people, get the stuff that they need. So I think for me, that's where I'm approaching it from, and absolutely including, things I enjoy. I'm a dessert every day type person, but I'm especially one now. And just kind of acknowledging that we're never eating in a vacuum of emotion. Like we will always be experiencing some form of emotion. I find food to be very pleasurable and wonderful and makes me happy. And just as you said, like kind of being like checking in, noticing. So if you are feeling stressed and you are eating, noticing that.
Yeah. I mean, I also
being aware of what the food is doing to you, and are you feeling good eating that food, so that's kind of how I approach it.
And this isn't one of my specialty areas at all, but like every once and again it pops up. If you have a history of disordered eating, just know that times of change and times of disruption can be real triggers for relapse. And so being aware and reaching out for extra support, whether that's like an online support group or contacting your therapist, seeing if they offer telesessions, just making sure you take care of yourself that way is really important in times of, stress. And, also if you've never reached out to a mental health professional before and you are feeling really anxious, like there is, no better time really to do it in terms of flexibility than right now. So many clinicians are offering telehealth. So just from the comfort of your own home and the comfort of their homes, you can, connect with them. I myself have transitioned to that model in terms of, for social distancing purposes. I still have to go into my nursing homes, but my private practice days are all telehealth right now. And, so many clinicians are doing that. So, just make sure that, you're paying attention to what your mind and your body are saying. And the other thing is if you notice your body being different, that could be a clue that your emotions are a little out of whack too. Again, the mind-body connection. If you find yourself having more headaches or more stomach aches or feeling more tense, take note and reflect on, okay, what am I feeling right now? Some of this isn't going to be 100% conscious. You might be able to access a little bit of it, but, really try to start paying attention if you notice, more things going on with your body than usual.
Absolutely.
I think that's really important. And in addition to sleep and increased appetite, decreased appetite, things like that. So
and just acknowledging that every day it might be, just like normal life, it's going to be different. If you're exercising less, you're moving less. I certainly know I am. Your appetite will probably go down or will change. But I think, I like all these different tools and exercises you've mentioned, because I think it's very easy just to, do your work from home, blah, blah, blah. And then, just like binge watch TV, which is also fine. But is that, again, after a certain point, is that really making you feel good? Like, I think I'm not alone. I can't really binge watch anything anymore with kids, but I know in the past, pre-kids, I would watch you get some show that you're obsessed with, and I'd watch like 8 hours of TV, and I'm just like, oh my God, like my whole head hurts. And so once in a while, that's fine. But, if day in and day out, like, again, like, what are you doing for yourself to make yourself feel better from a movement standpoint? And again, movement doesn't have to be like you're killing yourself in some interval workout. It can be any form of movement, and then from a mental health standpoint, from a food perspective, like, there are just so many different ways to care for yourself, and and so kind of staying in touch with that. Awesome. Anything else you kind of want to bring up before we wrap up?
Can I give a shout out to an exercise program real quick?
Yes.
So there's a program online. It's called Mama Strong. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's for people who like aren't intense athletes, but if you are like, especially a new mom or mom with small kids, and you're looking to get in like 15, 10-minute, even 5-minute exercise, it's a really lovely program that is very gentle and very kind emotionally. Like, physically, sometimes it can be difficult, but the person who runs it, her name is Courtney. I don't remember her last name, but I love, like, as a mental health professional, I love the approach that she takes to exercise and kind of emotions and bodies. There's even like they call it a 5-minute hack for anxiety. So I think that's a lovely one. I think it's like $5 a month. I don't know if she has any promos going on right now, but it's been one of my favorite things when I find myself feeling stressed or, not having time to really honor my body. I can do a quick video of hers. And it's something I've really loved. And it's all, based inside. And she gives you, hacks for, like, if you don't have the equipment that you need, she gives you suggestions of things around the house that you can use. I think it's a really great program. Especially for times like now, people want to try out new things.
No, absolutely. And then I know a lot of my listeners are a little bit more hardcore with kind of some exercise they do. I'm still kind of learning my audience, but a lot of people are endurance athletes. A lot of people are just starting,
so this wouldn't be for them.
No, it might be. I think I have all kinds of people out there, or people who are coming off of, not having worked out in a while. But I think the point being that there's something out there for everybody. Yeah. And I think some of my listeners also live in rural areas, and they can get out running in the mountains and hiking and doing all that stuff, which I'm totally jealous about. I wish I were in Northern California right now. I could just like go the forest, but anywho,
you can imagine, you can do a visualization in the forest.
Yes. Oh my God, seriously. Or I can like put my Peloton on and go like doing the like ride anywhere, the scenic rides or whatever. That's actually totally what I'm going to do, by the way. Well, thank you so much for your time. I have to now vacate my bedroom so my 5-month-old can sleep in here.
Get her to bed.
I'm amazed we even got this done with no sitter, 2 kids, and a husband working. So I am very proud of myself right now. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and wishing you and your family, lots of positive, good times in this crazy time period.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And, please be well, and everybody stay safe, and, pay attention to your mind and your body. I guess that's the biggest thing.
And one last question. Where can everyone find you online?
Sure. So my website is Selkirk Psychology. So that's S as in Sam, ELKIRK, psychology.com. That's my private practice website. So people can, my cell phone or my business line is on there, and they can reach out to me through there.
Wonderful. All right. Be well. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you.
That's it for today, guys. You can find Dr. Ashley Selkirk again at her website, selkirkpsychology.com. I hope you found this episode helpful or reassuring in some way. You are not alone. We are all going through so many challenging things together right now, and I know I learned a lot today on how to deal with my own feelings of anxiety and fear and disappointment and whatnot, and I'm just trying my best to stay positive and find the joy in these everyday moments that are happening. So wishing you and your families good health, and I hope you all are able to get through this time with lots of support, and you certainly have mine, so reach out anytime, eatforendurance@gmail.com, and of course you can visit my website, and I'm here for you guys, so if you have anything you'd like to suggest or ask, just let me know. All right, until next time, guys.